Time for a sweet treat. Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife, and today, as it's Easter Monday, I am taking the chocolate book tag. This was created by a Daydreamer's Ramblings and now feels like the perfect time to talk about it because we are overindulging in chocolate these days. So it felt like the perfect time to sit back, crack open an Easter egg, and talk about some books that have a little bit of to do with chocolate as well. First question is dark. Name a book that has dark themes, whether it is rape or whether it is murder, bullying, anything like that. And the first book that came to my head was My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. This is about a relationship between Vanessa, who is 17, and her teacher, who is 34. In the era of Me Too, some women come out against Vanessa's teacher and say that what had happened to them was not okay, it was not consensual, and it was completely uncalled for, and Vanessa does not see it as these women do. Vanessa sees it as a completely consensual, completely loving relationship between her and Staines. And the book has a really great discussion about that whole mindset that you can get into when you're in such a toxic relationship, that this is the best time for you, this is the best relationship for you to be in, and everyone else is just dumb. Everyone else doesn't see what you can see. It discusses everything so well and so respectfully. I really think it's a great book that everybody should read. I read this as a buddy read with Victoria from What Victoria Read, and both of us really enjoyed it. Even though enjoying it doesn't seem like the right word or the right phrase to say about this book, both of us were really struck and impacted by it. Next up is White Chocolate, your favourite light-hearted read. And for this I have gone with Rosalind Palmer Takes the Cake by Alexis Hall. This is such a wonderful book based around the world of the Great British Bake Off. It has Bake Expectations, a baking show, baking competition, and the title character, Rosalind Palmer, takes part in this because she is looking to raise a little bit more money to give her and her daughter a much more comfortable life. There are some really difficult topics in here as well. I will say that there are instances of classism, of biphobia, of sexual assault, but overall this is such a warm and comforting hug of a book. There's also a second book in the series, Paris Dalencourt is About to Crumble. I have got it on my shelf. I am ready to read it pretty much any day now. I absolutely love this book. It's so funny, it's so full of heart, and I definitely recommend it for any fan of the Great British Bake Off. Next up is Milk Chocolate, a book that has a lot of hype that you are dying to read. And for this one, Her Majesty's Royal Coven by Juno Dawson. This is everywhere. Nicola Coughlan narrates the audiobook. Juno Dawson is a phenomenal author. I've read so many of her other books. All of those have been contemporary though, and this is kind of more urban fantasy, low fantasy in our world, which makes me a little bit cautious about it because fantasy is not usually something that I would reach for, but I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to go into it with an open mind. I know it's got quite a lot of 90s references, of Spice Girl references. That is definitely something that is going to enamor me to a book, so hopefully that's going to be something that'll draw me in here. Next up is Chocolate with a Caramel Center, a book that made you feel all gooey inside when you were reading it. And again, I have to say Rosalind Palmer Takes the Cake. I read this, I finished it on the night of the Bake Off finale, and it felt like the perfect time to read it. It was the perfect moment. It was kind of like the timing had all worked out really well. But also the characters are so full of warmth and the characters are so full of love that it's very difficult to go into this book and not completely fall in love with them. It's really difficult to read them and not completely encapsulate yourself in this world. It's really immersive and it's very atmospheric. Again, if the Bake Off is anything that you are interested in, you are going to love this book. Next up is A Wafer-Free Kit Kat. What is a book that surprised you lately? And for this one, I have to go with Strange Sally Diamond by Liz Nugent. I knew it was going to be a great book. I knew I was going to have a really good time with it, but there were aspects to the plot that I did not expect to see coming at all. I don't want to talk about what they are because I think it's better for this book that you go in blind. I think it's better for this book that you have no idea what you're expecting because genuinely that's what I did and it completely blew me away. It has a similar plot to a book and a film that I have loved in the last maybe 5 or 10 years. And it is quite difficult to read at times, and it was quite harrowing to imagine the characters going through all of this, but it was told in such an immersive and respectful way that I just could not help but be enamored and encapsulated by this book. Next up is Snickers, a book that you are going nuts about. And I'm not going to talk about a book specifically, I'm going to talk about 3 books in one series, and that is the Brown Sister trilogy by Talia Hibbert. I love these books. I have pushed them onto so many people, and everyone that I have given them to has absolutely loved it. I don't think I know anyone who's given any of the books lower than a 4-star. This is about the Brown sisters, Chloe, Danny, and Eve, who are all very different women. And that's one of the things that one of my friends was a little bit worried about. She was worried that because they were all sisters, because they were all written by the same person, that they wouldn't feel like their own characters. They wouldn't feel like they had their own adventures and their own world and their own thoughts and feelings. But that is absolutely not the case. These are such complex and creative characters, but also they have their own things going on. Chloe is living with fibromyalgia, Danny is bisexual and she has a PhD, and Eve is kind of like the spoiled little sister. But all three of them are so loving and so lovable that you cannot help but fall in love with them. Next up is Hot Chocolate with Marshmallows. What book would you turn to for a comfort read? This is one that I go back to time and time and time again. It's one that I discovered in my childhood when I was maybe about 8 or 9 years old, and it has stuck with me ever since. And that is the Babysitter's Club series by Anne M. Martin. There is so much to love about this book. I am pretty familiar with all of the characters, I'm pretty familiar with all of the stories and with everything that they go through. So if I'm in a reading slump, or if I just want something light, something quick, I can just pick one of these up and I know that I'll be finished it within a couple of hours. And then I'm rejuvenated and I can go on to whatever I want to read after that. Final question is Box of Chocolates. What is a series that you have read that you think has something for everybody? And again, I have to say the Babysitter's Club. I know it's a very middle grade book series, so not everybody's going to enjoy it, but if people do pick it up, they are going to see such a diverse cast of characters. You have got characters who are of Asian descent, you have got characters who are of African descent, you've got Irish Catholic families, you have got families who are separated by divorce, you have got a character who has diabetes, you have got a character who is really into environmental issues and is a vegetarian. You've got a character who lost their mother when they were quite young. There's something for everybody. And as well as the main characters themselves going through everything, you have also got stories that deal with bereavement, with racism, with divorce, with pet loss, with a parent remarrying, with the kind of trials and tribulations that come from being a child of divorce and trying to decide what parent is more important for this weekend and what parent is more important for this event. There's something for everybody in here. And I know that it's not a series that everybody's going to want to pick up. I know that it's not a series that people are going to instantly want to reach for. But if you ever do reach for it, I absolutely am certain you're going to find something for you. Those are my answers to the chocolate book tag. Have you enjoyed your Easter? Did you get any really good chocolate, or did you get any books for Easter? If you'd love to leave me a comment but you can't think of anything you'd like to say, then just leave me the chocolate emoji. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.